Good morning. Hear me okay? Yeah. My name is Kate Fassett. I'm your worship associate today. When I was a kiddo, and people asked me what I'd like to be when I grow up, I had two answers: either a doctor or a DJ. For those of you who know me well, you know I love to have a tune going most of the time. I love to share music, and I feel very at home on the dance floor. So while the DJ career didn't pan out, the love of bringing people together around music and building on joyful energy has stayed with me. The doctor plan, it didn't really pan out either. I don't do well with bodily fluids, wounds, infections, or even splinters. But the idea of helping people heal has always been central to my constitution. I was diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic in 4th grade. I participated in drug and alcohol family support groups for my middle brother from about age 6 to age 16. And I was significantly influenced by my oldest brother's spinal cord injury when I was in 8th grade. Medicine, illness, healing, hospitals, they're second nature to me. This naturally led me toward a career in medical social work, life just building on itself. Right before the pandemic started, I became interested in another type of healing. You see, I like podcasts. Specifically, I love health-related podcasts. I like to solve health-related puzzles. The more I learn, the more I might be able to heal myself, my family, or anyone who would show interest. A word kept coming up in my podcasts that intrigued me: Ayurveda. John Hopkins defines Ayurveda like this: Ayurveda is a natural system of medicine originated in India more than 3,000 years ago. The term Ayurveda is derived from the Sanskrit words Ayur, which is life, and Veda, which is science or knowledge. Thus, Ayurveda translates to knowledge of life, or science of life, based on the idea that disease is due to an imbalance or stress in a person's consciousness. Ayurveda encourages certain lifestyle interventions and natural therapies to regain a balance between the body, mind, spirit, and the environment. No system of medicine made more sense to me as a person growing up in a family with multiple medical, mental health, and addiction stressors. Also, the idea that health was derived from balance and not from curing symptoms really struck a chord. I started to consider the possibility of weaving together a professional life that somehow combined holistic health and social work. I searched online for Ayurvedic medicine programs in the Portland area, and I found a school and called the contact on the website. A very friendly woman named Susan answered the phone and listened to me describe in great detail all of my big goals and dreams I had in helping people with their mental and physical health by using holistic methods. I'm sure she had heard many others exciting ideas, but she sure made me feel like I was onto something. You see, I get very excited about new ideas and opportunities. It's kind of a burden sometimes, as I can get easily motivated in several opposing directions at once. Just ask my family. Susan sent me information on a workshop she was hosting, and I didn't hesitate to sign up. At the workshop, I spent the day in a beautiful room on a yoga mat, learning how to breathe, how to prepare an easily digestible meal, and how to use a few yoga poses to create balance in mind and body. That day, Susan shared some of her philosophy with the group. It's not that we are what we eat. It's that we are what we can digest. This can be our food, the air we breathe, the experiences we have, and the emotions we carry. She taught me a pose that has since become my favorite yoga pose. It's called Makarasana, or crocodile pose. It consists of laying flat on your belly, resting your forehead down on your arms, and breathing deeply. Up until that point in time, I had never learned of a method that could so naturally calm my nerves. I knew this was something I wanted more of. I signed up for a year-long program that helped me stay balanced when the pandemic started. Then I decided to sign up for an additional 3-year program. It was all part-time and worked nicely around other responsibilities. Now, everything about the way I move through life has shifted because of this learning. It was required for me to complete yoga teacher certification during the program, and it came as a surprise to me that I love teaching yoga even more than practicing it. Who knew? I'm not as disciplined as I'd like to be with Ayurvedic lifestyle practices. I don't meditate regularly like I ought to. Sometimes I don't combine my foods properly, and every once in a while I stay up too late having fun or overindulging. But in general, the practices have brought so much peace and joy to my life that I feel greatly on a daily basis. This feeling of gratitude motivates me to continue to care for myself. While I was planning a professional life around holistic medicine and social work, I was actually weaving together a new framework for my own health. How lucky.
Our reading, The Importance of Presence, is by Barbara F. Meyers, and she writes, "Once during my ministerial internship, a woman I'll call Clara came up to me during the hustle and bustle before the Sunday service. I knew that Clara struggled with anxiety. Now in great distress, she told me how anxious she was and that she didn't know what to do. She was frantic, and I didn't know what I could do for her. At a loss, I suggested that we get out of the busy hallway and go together to a nearby empty room. I sat with her there, holding her hand in silence and thinking, what can I do? What can I say? I don't know what to do. After a couple of minutes, she just said to me, I feel so much better just sitting here with you. I was amazed to realize that just by being present with Clara, caring about her, I had helped her, that my presence in and of itself was a gift, and that her knowledge, her acknowledging it, was a gift to me. In our Unitarian Universalist faith, we celebrate the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And just as we affirm the diversity of spiritual paths, we also acknowledge the diverse ways in which each of us experiences health. So I ask you, what does it mean to you to be healthy? And if you want to shout out a word or two. Yeah. Okay. Self-care. Yeah. Proper rest. Wonderful. Thank you. What?
Not dead.
Not dead. That is health. The heart beating. All right. Thank you, all of you. I've tried to answer this question for myself for a long time, and it has only been in the last few years that my idea of being healthy may mean something completely different to everyone else, to every one of you. As a young person, I was one of those kids that had a cold and the flu every year. I endured the chicken pox. I had a short stint in the hospital for strep throat. Nothing very serious. So by all accounts, you would say I was a pretty healthy kid. Throughout my adult life, I've been physically active, and it has made me feel like I'm taking good care of my body. Paying attention to diet and getting enough sleep have also been important aspects of my routine. Aren't these the things that the professionals tell us are going to keep us healthy? Well, because I believed in my health routine, it never occurred to me that I would get cancer. And it's funny how the universe works. On December 7th, 2020, I heard those words, "You have breast cancer." It completely derailed my identity of being a healthy person. But I kept exercising, because it made me feel like I was doing something to help my body fight and heal. And it made me feel like I had a little control over something. We probably all known people who were really sick or had a degenerative disease and continued to live their lives to the fullest. My husband's stepfather had ALS and would joke that he's the healthiest person he knew, except that he had ALS. My dad would make similar comments while dealing with lung cancer and later brain cancer. And he would just weave those comments into his stories about his many weekly golf outings. And then there's our friend Patrick, who nearly died waiting for a kidney. And he always had something positive to say because he said he'd seen others who'd had it worse than him. I'm sure each of these men had bad days and probably even a good cry with their spouses or friends or alone in private when things got really hard. But I think there was something to their positive outlook that made their journeys manageable. When I started chemo in January of 2021, I was determined to proceed with as much positivity as possible in the hope it would keep me strong. Most days I could do it, but some days I needed a lot of rest and for others to take care of me. Despite the pandemic, I was more connected with people during this time than ever. And family, friends, acquaintances, this congregation were amazing at reaching out, sending cards, and providing meals. Those connections did wonders for my mental health, even when I felt like my body was broken. Quite a few of my friends had been through treatment for breast cancer as well, and they shared details of their stories about how they handled their treatments. They offered tips and tricks for dealing with side effects, and those conversations were so rich and gave me a chance to talk about how I was feeling and dealing. One friend baked for me and sent goodies in the mail from Seattle, timed to arrive within a day or two of my biweekly chemo treatments. It made me feel so connected and cared for. In our opening words, we're reminded of the interconnectedness between our thoughts, our words, our behaviors, and our overall health, that our emotional and mental states are linked to our physical well-being. And that was never more clear than during the time that I was going through cancer treatment. It's my belief that I got through chemo, surgery, and radiation successfully because of the support and care that boosted my mental health. But if I'd gone through it just 10 years earlier, I'm not sure I would have handled it quite as well. I've had a history of depression, and I didn't always know how to deal with it. Starting as early as age 10, I became very anxious, and that was after surviving a house fire and witnessing a tornado within a span of only 3 months. So very, very anxious during that time. Then by my late teens, I began to experience depression. Although my parents didn't know how to help me, I later learned it wasn't uncommon for teenagers to have mild to moderate symptoms of depression. In fact, statistics from just prior to the pandemic, the National Institutes of Health reports that 6 to 8% of adults were living with major depressive disorder, and over 16% had mild depressive symptoms. Statistics show nearly a quarter of adolescents experienced at least mild depressive symptoms. Our mental health influences how we perceive ourselves, others, and the world around us, and it shapes our thoughts and our feelings and our actions. So in my mid-20s, I turned to exercise to feel better. And this worked really well for about 10 years until having kids. And then postpartum depression grabbed a hold so tight that even training for a half marathon did not get me out of my funk. It felt wrong to be so low at a time when it seemed I was living the life I had dreamed of, or as Kate said, living my best life. I had a great marriage, 2 healthy kids, a nice home in a neighborhood full of friends, and a fulfilling career. How could I be less than happy every day when I was getting what I wanted in life, right? One of my friends even asked me that question, and I just didn't know how to answer. Instead, I harshly judged my state of mind. There was no single fix for depression for me, so I turned to a variety of therapies over the span of many years, from antidepressants, supplements, to various forms of counseling, and I expanded my physical practice to include yoga. As Kate described, getting that balance between mind and body is so important, and it has become second nature for me to continually seek out new tools to achieve that balance. The recent publicity around mental health is a very positive sign for those who struggle or for those who support someone who struggles. The statistics on depression shared earlier have dramatically increased after the isolation of COVID. But if there is a silver lining, the growing awareness of those rising rates of depression and anxiety and eating disorders among adolescents is making it less taboo to talk about this really important topic. Because of that, more resources like counselors and psychologists in schools, as well as resources for adults through health plans and nonprofits, are becoming more widely available. And I believe we need more of it. But there's something we can do for others as well. As in the reading, just being there for someone who is down can make a world of difference for them. Our mental health influences how we perceive ourselves and others and the world around us, shaping our thoughts, feelings, and actions. So while our physical health is representative of the state of our bodies, our mental health encompasses our emotional, psychological, and spiritual well-being. It involves coping with life's challenges like a serious illness. It helps manage stress and maintain healthy relationships. As we reflect on the connection between the physical and mental health, I encourage everyone to embrace practices that nurture both aspects of our being. Let us cultivate compassion for ourselves and others, recognizing that each of us is on our own unique journey. May we support one another in our quest for health, affirming the sacredness of every person and celebrating the diversity of paths that lead to healthy lives. To that, I say, cheers to our good health.